Yo everybody, Joseph here. Just wanted to give you a little heads up that the video that you're about to see is going to be pretty special because Carlos and I went to Colorado to visit our good friend Manu, and we had a chance to sit down with Chuck Rozanski for an interview. If you don't know who Chuck Rozanski is, Chuck is the owner of the largest comic book store in the world and is also a legend in the comic book community. So we had the honor to sit down with Chuck and make this video. So hopefully y'all will enjoy it. Also, Carlos and I want to give a big shout out to Manu and Layla. Thank you so much for having us, and if it weren't for you, we wouldn't have been able to make this video. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys. Yo everybody, it's your boy Joseph here.
And Carlos.
And hi, I'm Chuck Rozanski. I'm the owner of Mile High Comics. And so we're here today to talk about my wonderful, beautiful, absolutely stunning mega store, which I am madly in love with, and that I built for all the kids of Denver. So you guys take it from here.
Yep, you heard it straight from Chuck, and this is
The passenger seat.
Alright, so as you can see here, we are in the awesome Mile High comic store. This place is absolutely amazing.
This is the biggest comic book store in the world.
And if you ever were planning a trip to Colorado, this is definitely one of the spots you're going to want to visit. Alright, so let's pass it over to Chuck so he can tell us a little bit about Mile High Comics.
Sure. I started Mile High Comics in 1969. I was 13. And I was selling comics to my friends in junior high school. And then we moved to America, and I lost all my customers that had been over when I was selling over in the American Army base where we were living in Germany. So I had to start selling mail order in order to reach people. And so I started advertising in the old Rockets Blast fanzine. This is way before your time, before you were born. Okay, but the Rockets Blast was the earliest comic book fanzine that really got out there. It had, I think, at one point it had 1,000 subscribers, which was a big deal in those days. Anyway, I ran little ads in there when I was in junior high, and then I got a chance to buy a collection from a guy whose mom worked at the local newsstand distributorship. She was like a secretary or something, but she got to bring him home comics every week. And she did that for 8 years, starting in 1961. Yes, that's fantastic for number one. Okay, so starting in 1961, she started bringing this kid Denny his weekly comic fix. And then Denny decided that he wanted to sell them, and he offered them to me and one other guy. And there was a snowstorm, a blizzard. It was in January, and my mom was afraid of driving. She hadn't been driving in Germany at all, and we just got to the States, and she just had this old 63 Chevy. And I said, Mom, you have got to take me over to this kid's house, even though it's snowing and you can barely see out the windshield. And she did it. And she loaned me the money, which was all of our life savings at that point, $140. She made me sign a promissory note. Bitch, I was 13 years old, 14 years old. She made me sign my first promissory note. But I did it, okay? And I got the comics. I paid 3 cents each for the regular ones, and I paid 6 cents each for the doubles, like the 80-page giants and things like that. And the earliest issue that was in there was about 1957 or 58, but those were all DCs. The earliest Marvel was like a Fantastic Four number 4, but then there was a lot of stuff going from there. And I kept a few for my collection, but I ended up with about 3,000 that were extras. And so I had been going to a local antiques fair. It was once a month, first Saturday and Sunday of every month, was at the Colorado Springs City Auditorium. And it was a beautiful fair. They had people that sold rare coins, and they had people that sold just all kinds of collectibles. They'd bring in like these great antiques and really early tin toys from the 1930s and all this cool stuff. And so my mom took me there, and I begged the owners to let me sell at the antiques fair. And they said, you're 14 years old. There's no way. You're just going to just get this table, and then you're going to run around like some stupid kid. You're not going to do shit. And they said, look, here's what we'll do. We got a lady who's wants to sell these like little decorative Avon bottles. That it was a thing, believe me. It was like Beanie Babies and Jim Beam bottles. Okay, it was a thing in its day. She said, the blacks who ran the place said, "We'll let you have half of her table because she doesn't have enough to fill the whole thing, so it's going to cost you $5." And I said, "Okay, I'll pay $5 and I'll do half the table." Well, turned out the lady with the Avon bottles was a flibbergibbet, could not sit her butt down and actually run her booth, so I ran her booth for her at the age of 14, and I ran my own. And at the end of the show, Harvey Black, the guy that ran the place, came to me and he said, "You're in. You've got a booth now anytime you want it." And that was what I used to start building my initial inventory. I then went off to college for a couple of years. That turned out to not be economically feasible. And the thing to really emphasize here is that I was super, super poor in those days. So I dropped out of college and went to live in that old 63 Chevy that my mom had. And over the course of a summer, I drove to 11 conventions in 13 weeks all across America. I started off in Oklahoma, and then I went to Texas, and then I went to New York, and then I came back to Colorado, then I went to San Diego. I mean, I was everywhere, and I lived in the car. And I was so poor in those days, I didn't have any money for food, so I was actually getting food stamps and buying dented cans in the back of the grocery store where they've got your scratch and sniff stuff. And that's what I lived on. And over the course of that summer, over 11 conventions, I earned $800, and I opened my first store in a converted coal bin up in Boulder. And that was 47 years ago that I opened the first store. And now this is the culmination of 47 years of hoarding.
Hoarding in the greatest way possible.
Well, yeah, it's always the greatest way possible when it pays off. I mean, I could have been hoarding, paper clips or Avon bottles, or it turned out the comic books were a great thing to hoard in 1974. Avon bottles, not so much. So it helps. My personal motto is that it's way better to be lucky than to be smart.
Oh, yeah, okay. 100%. I mean, and I guess that rolls us into a couple of questions that we wanted to ask. So, first and foremost, I guess this is just a given question. What is your favorite comic?
The one that I'm looking to buy. I mean, seriously, no. I don't you're asking me to pick amongst my children. Okay, that is way too cruel. Okay. I don't do that.
That's fair.
Okay, so if I've got a collection that someone has offered me and I'm staring at it, those are my favorite comics at that particular moment in time. Because I got 10 million. Well, my comics are like bunnies. Okay, I come in the morning and there's more. Okay, and so 10 million. I passed 10 million long ago. I haven't counted my comics in 30 years.
Wow.
Because I buy them faster than I can count them. And so it doesn't really matter to me. We do sort them. We do try to get them to where we can access them. Because if you can't access them, they're worthless. But it's an endless job. We're always behind. Like I brought in 40,000 comics this morning. And we got to figure out how to integrate those and sort those. And that was what I was doing in the back before I found out that you guys had come to visit, and I wanted to see you. But I'll be back there sorting the minute that we're done, because that's an endless job.
Yeah.
And it's a job that I love. I mean, really.
So that actually begs me to the next question. What made you fall in love with comics?
Well, I was adopted when I was a little kid, and my stepfather was really, really abusive and hurt me a lot. And so I spent a lot of time hiding in comics with my friends.
Okay. Do you remember your first issue?
Sergeant Fury #4 was the first issue that I remember as really liking. It was the death of Junior Jennifer, and it made me cry way back then.
Okay.
But my stepdad used to bring home sacks of comics, the old paper sacks from the grocery store. Comics would exactly fit in those, if you laid them in flat. And he used to bring those in and hide them in his bedroom, and when he went off to work, I'd sneak in there and pillage his comics and read them, and then I'd slide them back in very carefully in the exact same order so that he wouldn't beat me. But then he beat me anyway. But he didn't beat me because he caught me reading his comics. Never did. Bitch.
So we see, you have loads and loads and loads of collectibles, not just comics. And it's funny enough because when we came here yesterday, we were browsing and I saw some Power Ranger collectibles. It's funny because when I go back into my youth, my older brother, he had a couple of Power Ranger Zords.
Yeah.
And I was 5. He was out of the house. I asked my mom to play with him. Took him out of their box, and I threw them all. He still hates me for that.
Yep.
But it just really surprised me because I came here and when we started looking through the collectibles, that was not what I was expecting to see. So it's just incredible to come here and see the variety
and things as well. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about this store is that I used to go to San Diego Comic-Con. I went there 44 years in a row. And when I first started going there, it was the most magical place on earth. We all got together. It was a gathering of the clans. And so in those days, there weren't as many genres. But we used to have the people that loved old 16 millimeter movies. And so we had a movie room. And then we had the people that were crazy about Star Trek. Star Wars hadn't even happened then. So, but there were all the people that would go around with their little pointy ears and shit. I mean, it was cute. And then we had people that were into different genres of comics. In those days, Disney comics were huge. So there were the Disney guys that collected the old Karl Marx stuff, and there were the Spider-Man, Marvel guys, and the DC guys on the other side of the room, and they always got in for half price because they were sort of okay. But we had a great time at those shows because we were all geeks and we were all sharing and we were having a good time. Now, conventions like San Diego are nothing but people wanting to post up that is on Instagram or whatever. Oh, look at me! I'm so cool, And it's like, yeah, no, you're not. Okay, you just managed to somehow win the lottery and get a ticket. So that that means you're lucky, not necessarily cool. But it took all the joy for me out of going to conventions because people also when they're just trying to gain social status, they're really not spending money and they're really not trying to buy and transact things. And I am very materially oriented, very tactily oriented. I love comic books of all kinds. And so when that joy went out of big conventions, I decided that I would build my own. Okay. And when I started building my own, I realized that in order for this to be a gathering of the clans, that I had to make it inclusive. And so I got this building, and when I bought it, it was supposed to be just a warehouse. But that internet-y thing happened. Because what happened was, and this was not my goddamn fault, okay? Google put this down as our main address, even though it was our subsidiary warehouse where we were supposed to just sort stuff. And so I'd be in here on a Saturday minding my own beeswax, and bam, 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 bam. I'm here from Ypsilanti, you gotta let me see your store. But it isn't a store, but you gotta let me see it. Oh my God, it got to be. So first we opened it up Monday through Friday, then we opened it up on the weekends, and then pretty soon things just took off. And so then I said, okay, now I gotta make it really cool if people are gonna come here with all these expectations. And so every genre that we have here now has been a gradual extension. And we're actually, one of our, right now, as you heard him earlier drilling, John is putting in even brighter lights so that we can really ramp up the visuals in here and make it easier to see things. Once we get done with our lighting improvements, which are fairly expensive, I mean, in total it's going to cost us about 20 grand. But it's going to make this place so much nicer and easier to see things. Well, then we're going to go back out and we're going to do some of our banners and get those bigger again. But we're also ordering 100 more of our 6-foot-high showcases. So each showcase then ends up being a genre. And so up until recently, we had a Walking Dead case, but we decided to change it out and put something else in there. So all the cool Walking Dead stuff went in a box, shoved it in the back. That kills me. You know, we really should have it in a showcase, but the showcases are $1,000 a pop.
Wow.
And so when I say I'm going to buy 100 more showcases, rolls off your tongue really easy until you're trying to explain it to your wife who pays the bills, and you start saying, honey, it's only 100 cases. Ooh, that's a conversation I don't look forward to. But it's what we have to do. So that's why I said earlier that this is economically non-viable. Really, because every cent that we possibly generate, it just goes all right back in again. And people ask me what the end game is, and I tell them to be dragged out of here, cold, stiff, and dead, still clutching my comic books. Okay? And that's the end game. I don't want monies. Look at my shoes. I mean, you can't see them on the video, but I wear the most raggedy-ass old shoes. It's because I don't care about monies. I spend a lot of time out helping the homeless. We more than tithe. I give tens of thousands of dollars a year to buying food and warm clothing, water for people that are living in the tent colonies in lower downtown. And I go out typically 3 days a week to deliver 2,000 pounds at a time. And so my values are not in money. I could really care less. I own the building. When I bought the building, it was the bottom of the Great Recession. And since I bought it, it's increased in value by $6 million. That's just the concrete. To hell with everything else that's in here. Just the concrete is worth $6 million more than I paid for it. Okay? I could be sucking on mint juleps. And I could be down in the Turks and Caicos and just having a wonderful time, okay? And I would be bored shitless and crying because I couldn't be here and I couldn't have this fun. And so this is my idea of heaven. I want to die in here, okay? And my favorite time in the store, you haven't asked that question. When's your favorite time in the store? Everybody else is the fuck out of here. Okay, and it's just mine, and I can walk around in here and I can say, it's mine! I didn't say that, okay? But it's not about monies. I could care less. People are always asking me, what's your most valuable comic book? I don't give a fuck. Okay, number one, all right, in Near Mint. All right? I just don't care. I've owned every valuable comic that has ever existed. I had the best copy of Action Comics #1. Okay? Don't know, don't care. It's just another comic. Okay? I value this Free Comic Book Day bongo issue just as much as I value that Action 1, because to me they're intrinsically the same. Okay? They're both a vision of someone. And, you know, comic books are sex. You did know that, right? Because when you're looking at a comic, it's a shared experience. They are creating visuals and a story which is supposed to move you. It's supposed to have something that actually creates that moment of ecstasy. If you ever lose that, get the hell out. Okay? You have to have that purity of purpose, or else you're just in the wrong business. I see people that get in this business for monies, and it's like, you poor bitch. Because that is an endless quest that has no resolution. But if you actually stop to realize how blessed you are just to be in this world and to share with all the people that come in here their passions and their excitement, that's a whole different game. That is a whole different game, and it makes it so much fun. Okay, I'll stop talking. Questions?
I had one question. You had one?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Do you think that the movies that have been coming out has helped the business?
I think the fact that the movie theaters have closed has really helped the business.
There you go.
Okay, every time somebody took their girlfriend to a movie, it was $50 out of their pocket they couldn't spend here. And they also had a moment of entertainment. Okay, now that those theaters are closed, People are bringing their $50 here and their girlfriend. Okay? These are all good things.
And so, speaking of like the business itself, you know, I know you said it was a very tactile experience, but how do you feel about the fact that everything's sort of transitioning into like an electronic sort of phase where everything is digitalized and coming into like tablets and phones and all that?
Yeah, it's kind of like having sex with one of those rubber dolls.
He's right.
It's almost the real thing, but somehow something's missing.
No,
All right?
totally.
I like the way the comics smell.
Yeah, I like the way they feel. and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
the
It's
feel,
just-
the pulp paper. I mean, you know, digital is like, okay, love you too. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, man. Okay. Yeah, it's all good. I'll tell you a funny story. I'm friends with the movie director Morgan Spurlock. He did Super Size Me. And his team selected me to be in a documentary about Comic-Con about 10 years ago. And Morgan reads all his comics online. And they chose me for that documentary as the crusty old fart of a comic dealer who represented the dying era.
Oh.
And they didn't tell me about this until
Wow.
okay, but I played the part really well because I'm sort of a natural. And there's just a hilarious side note to this, which is that at the time that I did that film, the money was put up by Legendary Pictures, and the guy who owned Legendary is a billionaire. And he did The Dark Knight and a bunch of other stuff, okay? But then he sold it to some Chinese outfit, and he kind of got shoveled off to the side, so not so great. Morgan got caught up in the Me Too system. Didn't work out so well. So Warrior Poets and his whole production company, not so good. Stan died. The director from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, producer from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, he actually did the cut on the movie, and he's just now gotten caught up in a whole bunch of abuse allegations and things like that. Last man standing. Okay, I'm oversimplifying, but I was supposed to be the dinosaur on his way out, and yay, I found the concrete and I have been reborn.
Look at that.
Love it. Love it. Not dead yet, bitches. So, here I am.
That's good.
Sassy as ever.
No, that's great. I mean, shit. I guess it's about staying true to who you are, you know, and the love for that you have for the comics and the passion that you have, it just stands true.
Well, I have a passion for comics, but let's not conflate things, okay? What I really have a passion for is the people in this world. Okay, I love my fellow dealers, even the ones that I compete with, and you know, sometimes I'll talk about them scurrilously. But even the rascals, even the worst comic book dealer on the planet is somebody that I would rather spend eternity with than the bitches that are in heaven. Okay, because at least they're interesting. At least they're fun. Okay, let's all go to purgatory together and read comics. With heaven.
Like Little Joel said, rather cry with the sinners than laugh with the saints, right?
Absolutely. People keep, you know, they come up to me sometimes and they say, "You need to go to heaven." It's like, not with you, bitch. my worst nightmare is getting stuck in a place with stiffs like you.
Oh man. Well, yeah. Well, Chuck, you've been absolutely amazing, and we just want to showcase as much as we can.
Well, please, I built this place so people could have fun, and so that when they came to Colorado, they could talk about something more than pine trees. Okay, you know, I like pine trees. Okay,
They're
I
nice.
like the
They're
Great Plains. I love the big rocks that are over here on the side. Okay, big fucking deal. Okay. That you can find anywhere. You can find mountains anywhere. Okay, you can find Great Plains, big skies, everywhere. This is Mile High Comics. You're not going to find this right here, right now. Get it while you can, because the minute that I die, it's gone. Okay, and it only stays together because I am freaking insane. And I love what I do so much that nothing else matters to me. But it is my energy that's fluid this. So get your ass in here, fool. Okay? It's not going to be here forever. This is a moment in time that you get to enjoy.
All right, that was great. It was really great meeting you, honestly.
You bet. Guys, don't worry about it. I've had my COVID shot. I don't give a damn.
Well, y'all heard it here. We hope you enjoyed this ride with us, and we hope that you'll join us next time here at
The Passenger Seat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's a happy camper.
Oh yeah, finishers, yes.
Hey, I'm not shy. My signature isn't one of these little. Not me.
Hey guys, so just a quick thing. We're here in Colorado visiting our good friend Manu, and he has some awesome stuff from Mile High Comics that it would be awesome to showcase on the channel. So here we go. What's up, Manu?
Hi everybody. This was the first actually piece I owned from Mile High. It's like a signed print, signed by Stan Lee. It was the first scene from my collection from Mile High, and I was like super psyched. And I always had my eye on this one. It was like one of the latest ones that I got, which is the first issue, Spawn Kills Everybody, signed by Tom McFarlane and Stan Lee.
That's a nice piece to your collection.
Yeah, and now for the new piece,
Ooh.
the bongo.
Free for all, signed by Chuck.
Yeah,
Yep.
the owner of Mile High Comics. So this is gonna be like my most valuable collection.
Yep. Dang. Had to have it, bro.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool, man. Thank you for showing us your stuff.